charged my battery a little bit because it ran out in chapter 4 of the second part of Eyes of Horus, and it's a good chapter, so I'm going to continue reading it. It was written by Joan Marshal Grants. She died in 1989, and she wrote books about her far memories. This here is the story of where she is, Ra-up, and this chapter was entitled Fear over Egypt. And I continue here. I read the last paragraph again. In the days of the Old Kingdom, Pharaoh was high priest, the unity of temporal and divine power. For 5 years your father and mother achieved together this dual authority, but at her death he became a man whose sight is failing, and he could see only that which was near to him. Because the priests were her priests, he protected them, and he did them honor, but he was a man acting without initiative. One day, Ra-up, you will rule the Oryx. In the far past you have known temple courts and held authority, and through you the peace of the Oryx will spread beyond its boundaries in the name of the Watchers of the Horizon. The lamp flickered, and Rodan got up to replenish it with oil. Rodan, who are the Watchers of the Horizon? I had never heard of them until Dadas told me that it was in their name you greeted Hayab, the blind woman, when he brought her here. He smiled. So you have been talking to Dadas? He is the headman of a village now, and I'm sure the people prosper under his care. He married Hayab after she had been a year in my house. They were very happy together, but she is dead now. She gave him 2 daughters, and I think he is content. But who are the Watchers? People like me who know there is a shadow over Egypt. When shadows gather together, it is night, but when many turn to watch for the dawn, it will surely come. Your father and grandfather both held that it was sufficient there should be peace within the Oryx, that it should keep itself apart from Egypt. But it is not enough to store grain in granaries. It must be sown when the new fields are famine from others. For many years I have brought those whom I term the Watchers into the Oryx, ploughmen and fisher people, herdsmen and linen weavers, goldsmiths and scribes. One thing only that they had in common: their resolve to banish fear from they will go forth from the Oryx, and what they have learned here will run through Egypt like fire through dry straw. Those who gave fear shall know it, and those who misused power shall lose it. Those whose greatness was a mask shall see themselves pitiful, and those who were humble shall be empowered. But Pharaoh will send his armies against you. Soldiers cannot hear the voice of the dead. When the following morning I left Hotep Ra, I felt so different from the boy who had arrived here the day before that I was almost surprised my soldiers recognized me. I was no longer a boy. I was a man who knew what his work was to be. I had always known that one day I should succeed my father, but it had always seemed I should only substitute one routine for another. Now I belonged to the Watchers of the Horizon, who were pledged to drive out fear. I was still not sure if I had understood Rodin correctly when he had said, soldiers cannot hear the voice of the dead. Pharaoh had been raised almost to divinity. Indeed, there were many who held him to be divine. Yet, if his power was of Set and not of Ra, then it were right that he should be killed. Rodin had said that all who inspire fear are evil. I knew that to speak against Pharaoh was to die, and by a slow death, so Rodin had not needed to tell me I must repeat nothing of what he had told me, even to Chias. I knew I was only Ra-up, a boy of 14 walking along a narrow, dusty road, at the head of 10 soldiers who were going to collect grain from northern village. But I thought of myself as Ra, the captain of the Oryx, leading the Watchers against the royal city, to free the land of Egypt from the shadow of fear. So that was the end of chapter 4 of the second part of Eyes of Horus.